Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, October 7th. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. In the news tonight, former registrar of the High Court, Tamara Gibson Marks, today pleaded guilty to 2 of the 3 charges she was facing. The Director of Public Prosecutions took over and discontinued the other charge against her. Last August, Gibson Marks was charged with the theft of $21,925, the abuse of authority in office as registrar of the High Court, along with presenting a certificate which was to her own knowledge false. When she first appeared in court, Gibson Marks pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges, but today the former High Court registrar pleaded guilty to the theft of $21,925 and the abuse of authority in office as registrar of the High Court. The DPP then nullified the charge of presenting a certificate which was to her own knowledge false. Gibson Marks is expected to return to court on Friday. In March, Attorney General Judith Jones-Morgan is said to have confronted Gibson Marks with certain information and then asked her to resign. Gibson Marks immediately left the country and remained in her native St. Lucia until she returned here in August and was immediately arrested and charged. While Gibson Marks was out of the country, the Attorney General filed a claim to have her name struck off the list of barristers allowed to practice in this country. That matter is expected to be heard later in the year. Thanks, but reparation is needed now. That's what businessman Leon Biggs Samuel is saying to authorities here, a mere 5 days after news broke that his mining license was reinstated after it was revoked almost 4 years ago. In an interview earlier today with SVG-TV News, Samuel explains that the issue of reparation was always the next planned step after his mining license was reinstated.
The issue of reparation, which I'm raising now, is just another step that we are taking in this whole struggle.
All right. You're talking reparations, you must be thinking a figure as well. What exactly, that financial compensation, what exactly are you looking for?
At this level, I have to be professional in my approach. To go around and just to pull figure just like that out of the air will not becoming the kind of manager that I know that I am. So I would desist at this time to put a figure because we have to make assessment of our equipment for the almost 4 years since they are there sitting. We have to also look at the time and loss of income. There's the issue of the over 60 employees that I would not leave out of this whole.
That's 6016.
660.
Okay.
With the over 60 employees, that has to be factored into the whole issue of reparation.
Samuel says though he does not want the reparation matter to end up in the courts, he is prepared to have the matter resolved at any cost.
That is my last resort, but still, we will still take the approach to see if we can get it fixed or amend without going to court. But if it has to reach to that, because as I said, the whole intention is to see how quick we can get it over with, that we could get our business back up and running. That's the approach that I want to take, and no other approach at this time.
Meanwhile, commenting on the announcement by the Physical Planning Board to reinstate Samuel's mining license, Prime Minister Dr. Al Gonzalez on radio yesterday says his government has never been against Samuel carrying out his work, but to ensure it was done in the right way.
I spoke to Brent Bailey to get the facts, and I'm sure that public officials will talk about it. I understand from Brent Bailey, the chief engineer, that the planning authorities have indicated to Biggs that they're prepared to permit him to restore his mining operations on his original 5 acres plus of land in accordance with certain environmental conditions, and also to keep the roadway open. And then any other issues which Biggs is concerned about could be dealt with either the chief engineer or the chief surveyor. But I think that what will have to happen, because Cabinet has taken a decision on the matter on the advice of the planning authorities, that matter will have to, the particular particular order which had been made by Cabinet would have to be rescinded and this new order put in. It's provided, of course, that Bigger agrees to these conditions.
Samuel's legal battles are, however, not over, as he's expected to return to court tomorrow to answer 4 traffic-related charges that were recently brought against him. Samuel told SVG-TV News that he is confident that his legal team will again do the best to ensure he leaves the court victorious. When he first appeared in court to answer the 4 charges, he pleaded not guilty.
I cannot see how those charges can really be justified that was brought against me. So
in your mind, you did nothing wrong. You think that you are not guilty of any of the charges that were brought against you?
I personally believe in my own mind that I am not guilty for those charges, but I have confidence in the justice system, and I have confidence in my lawyers, my team of lawyers who I know will be there to represent me by the grace of God, and the most biggest lawyer for all, the Almighty God. So I personally believe I will be vindicated.
Government says it has agreed and is already taking steps in making the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College a college of the University of the West Indies. Speaking on radio last evening from Cuba, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez reported that earlier in the day he had spoken with the Vice Chancellor of the UE, Nigel Harris, and that they were both anxious to carry the matter forward promptly.
So that the community college can become a college of the University of the West Indies under certain terms and conditions, and for us to retain an autonomy in relation to certain matters, which is good news for the further strengthening of the community college, which is what Nigel Scott and Nicole Bonity Baker and I myself had indicated hitherto.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonzalez is expected to return home on the weekend, having been in Cuba for the past 2 weeks receiving medical attention for a muscle injury. On radio, Prime Minister Gonzalez reassures the public that he is recovering well.
As the song says, stand by me, stand by the comrade, stand by me. And as I end where I began, don't worry with all the oppositionist talk and prejudicial internet crazies. I'm doing well, and the people will shortly see me. Another few days, by the weekend.
In other news now, the Central Water and the Sewage Authority is reporting damage to its main pipeline section between Spring Village and Belial. According to the CWSA, because of the extensive nature of the repair work, including pouring of concrete, at least 3 days will be required to restore the service. As a result, Gordon Yard, Belial, Curtains, Bowley and Peters Hope will be without water for the next 3 days. The CWSA says water will be distributed by trucks to these affected areas during the restoration period. Vincentians have been told that there is a need for more prayers during challenging times. Speaking at yesterday's National Day of Prayer at Heritage Square, Minister of Reconciliation Maxwell Charles told the gathering there is not only a need for individual prayers but corporate prayers as well.
Talking to someone who is our creator and maker. We are talking to someone who is our sustainer and provider. We are talking to someone who is the problem solver. Wrongdoing separates us as individuals from our master. Wrongdoing as a nation will also separate the nation from Almighty God. We have several examples in the Bible when God's children were faithful to him and there was a period of prosperity and his guidance and his protection. And there were other times when they were disobedient to his holy words and they suffered the consequences.
Charles noted that righteousness exalts a nation and unrighteousness would serve to undo gains that a nation might have received.
Individual sin can be different to collective wrongdoing. When we have individual sins here, there, and perhaps everywhere, it is a different scenario than if an entire nation would join together and in collective wrongdoing. Remember, it says, the righteousness exalteth a nation. Ezekiel, back there, knew what it was to cry against sin. He knew what it was to cry against lying preachers, lying prophets. He knew what it was to cry against idol worshippers. And he knew what it was to cry against those who failed to strengthen the hand of poor people in his nation.
Meantime, opposition leader Anna Eustace, who also addressed the gathering, expressed disappointment with the attendance at the National Day of Prayer rally.
You look at the park out there on Independence Day, you see thousands of people. Why can't we have that for the National Day of Prayer? One of the things that is of great concern is I think there's need for us to look again at how this event is organized. Do we need to have anything during working hours? Or could we have it at a different time of the day? I notice innovations from year to year, as we have today, with a much longer program and involving different aspects of the program. And that's an innovation. But where are the people? I notice, for instance, if I follow the program, that between 1:30 and 3 o'clock, we have the radio. Are we going to have the radio after 3 o'clock to reach to those persons who are away and can't hear us at this time? So what I'm saying, I think we need fundamentally to look at the whole way that this program is organized on a national basis.
In other news, the credit union movement in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has shown consistent annual growth in membership, assets, savings and loans over the past 6 years despite the economic downturn. Speaking at a news briefing yesterday to launch Cooperative Month 2014, President of the League, Kelvin Pompey, says it is the credit unions and cooperatives who have been there for the small man of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
In other areas of education, to give assistance to those in need and to generally build a better life for members. It is the credit union movement entry into the home mortgage facility that has resulted in lowering a reduction in the rate of interest to mortgages, on mortgages. And additionally, it is this credit union movement basically that has afforded hundreds of Vincentians the opportunity to own houses and to access financing to renovate.
Pompey says as they celebrate another cooperative month, it is important that the movement continues to highlight and champion what they have been doing for nation building.
I sometimes feel that the credit union movement, which significantly is the third pillar of the economy behind the private and public sector, is one of the unsung heroes of our countries. Because very quietly, credit unions and cooperatives have been changing and transforming the lives of Vincentians and have assisted in lifting the level of social and economic development of thousands of Vincentians.
Meantime, a number of activities are planned to commemorate Cooperative Month 2014. The activities kicked off today with a church service and march.
We'll be having a symposium where we would be looking at the way forward for credit unions, and individually different credit unions and cooperative societies would be hosting open days. We'll be having a joint fun event and other activities, all aimed at sensitizing the general public towards the credit union movement. We have a good thing going, this credit union movement of ours. We are quite proud of it, and we are confident that with our collective and collaborative input, we are going to continue to yield tremendous benefits for our members.
Well, as work progresses on the South Leeward Highway, residents living on the leeward side of St. Vincent are being encouraged to leave home earlier than usual. Junior surveyor on the project, Shesford John, told SVG-TV News that as anticipated, the traffic situation continues to pose some inconvenience to some residents, especially during early morning hours. However, John says persons can beat some of the traffic by leaving home earlier, particularly before the excavation starts.
Start excavating, we got to hold the traffic, right? And we now have to hold the traffic until we have excavated not a good bit, but we have done some excavation. Then we got to get our truckers in, have them loaded, and then we're gonna allow the traffic to pass. So between that, it takes us like let's say 30 minutes, right, to do that. So, I mean, you should. Leaving home earlier would be in your interest, right? Because I mean, get away from the traffic. You can't want to show up for 9 o'clock and possibly leave 8:30. Depends on where you're living.
Some news from the courts now. Maxwell Bennett, a 45-year-old employee at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Postal Corporation and a resident of Caliacua, appeared this morning at the Serious Offences Court and pleaded guilty to 2 separate drugs-related charges. He's accused of having in his possession 10 pounds of marijuana that was discovered at the Postal Corporation on August 26, 2013. He was fined $16,500 for the drug trafficking offense, to be paid by April 6, 2015. In default, he will face a 2.5-year jail term. Another fine of $5,500 was also imposed on him for possession of a controlled drug with intent to supply. $3,000 was to be paid forthwith. A year in jail will be imposed. The balance is to be paid by December 2nd, 2014. In default, he will face another 9 months imprisonment. Meanwhile, a 3-year jail term was this morning handed down to Elroy Murray, a 34-year-old farmer of Chateaubelair. This after he was found guilty on 2 gun and ammunition-related charges. Murray was reportedly intercepted by members of the Rapid Response Unit while traveling to Chateaubelair in a vehicle with 2 other occupants on June 7, 2014. One black Smith & Wesson revolver that contained 2 rounds of ammunition was found, which resulted in his arrest.